So, good day everyone. I'm Miles. So, in this video, we are going to tackle about three topics. We have the human reproductive system, secondary sexual characteristics, and sex and gender. That's the last topic. Now, the first one that I will discuss is about human reproductive system. Oh, wait, before that, our members would be me, Ken, Alexia, Ness, and Ian. Okay, so let's proceed. So let us define first what is human reproductive system. So human reproductive system is an organ system in which humans reproduce or bear offspring. In another meaning, it is the organs in the body that are capable of making child. Sperm cell, egg cell, familiar, di ba? So before we proceed to the process by which the organs of female and male combine or function together to produce a child, I will give you 2 pointers. Remember these two terms, which is the ovum and spermatoza. So ovum po is the mature female egg cell, okay? Female reproductive cell, and then we have spermatoza, which is the quite obvious, it's the sperm cell, okay? But we're going to use the spermatoza and ovum term here. So in the process, I'm going to discuss the 7 steps, okay? These are the 7 steps that we are going to follow to make another human being. Before that, of course, dapat the organ of both female and male are all functioning well and there's no any defects for us to be able to make a child. And this one would be, the first one is the discharging of the ovum to the specific time of the reproductive cycle, okay? So meaning this is the discharging of the egg cell. The next one would be the internal fertilization. The second step would be the meeting of the egg cell or the sperm cell, and then they would meet, right? Through that process. We'll talk about that later. The next one is the transportation of the fertilized ovum. Pagkatapos pag-meet ng sperm cell and egg cell, they would be fertilized, okay? And they would be put, or they would transport to the womb or uterus ng babae. And then, pakapunta niya sa uterus ng babae, magde-develop, and it would be called blastocyst. Blastocyst is the early embryo developed in the fertilized ovum. Ang mangyayari sa fourth process would be implantation, kung saan magdidikit na to sa wall ng uterus or ng womb ng babae. Pang-apat naman is the formation of placenta. Yung placenta guys, yung yung parang plastic na parang nakabalot sa baby, 'di ba? Yung parang nakabalot na sa baby. And of course, yung maintenance ng unborn child during the entire gestation. That period po is called gestation, okay? And the last 6th step would be yung mga anak na, okay? Then, yun na yung expulsion of the placenta. The last step would be the suckling and care of the child, and then babalik na po siya sa original state, yung fertilization, yung reproductive system ng babae. Of course, after a few months of pagpapagaling, okay? And that process, that bago mangyari yun, yung ginagawa is called what? This is called sexual interaction. Intercourse. Sexual intercourse or copulation.
The duct is essential for the continuation of the species. In any species lost the ability to reproduce, it would become extinct very soon. This involves the fusion, man-reproduced by sexual means. The male produces sperm while the egg or ovum is produced by the female. Two cells come together and fuse during the physical act of copulation. At this time, too many sperms are produced, only one of them fuses with the ovum. The ovum is then said is to be fertilized. The resulting cell is called zygote. Under favorable condition, it is able to undergo cell division and differentiation to produce a new complex organism. Fertilization. In both sexes, the most important change is the function of the reproductive glands. After puberty in the male, the testes produce sperm while female ovaries produce ova. In addition to these changes, there are other secondary changes in both sexes. There are definitely sociological change. In the male, there is appearance of the facial hair and deepening of voice. In the female, the develop of the mammal glands or the breast takes place. The male reproductive system includes the testes, which are represented in the scrotum outside the abdomen. Sperm cells are produced here as pass through a long tube. The vas deferens, the fluid portion of the semen, is made up of secretion of glands called seminal vessel below the bladder. In the utera, other fluids mix the sperms to form semen. Other secretion are contributed by the prostate gland. The utera extend along the center of the penis, where is several are dual function of carrying urine or semen. The female reproductive system, a fold of peritoneum stretches across the pelvis. This is a protentinal fold is called the broad ligament. Between it is fold lie the uterus and fallopian tube and the ovaries. After attaining sexual maturity, post-puberty in each ovary produces an ovum every 4 weeks. If the ovum is not fertilized, then the internal lining of the uterus is shed as a mass of blood and tissues. This is the process of the menstruation. Fertilization usually takes place in the ovarian end of the tube. After ejaculation, few sperms are transported through the uterus to the end of ovarian of the fallopian tube. Sperm remains viable for about 4 days within the female genital tract.
So, good day everyone. Today I will be discussing to you about the difference between the secondary sexual characteristic. In secondary sexual characteristic, we all have our own perspective, but it has always should be different in both gender for both males and females. In women, there are types of sexual characteristic that there are many changes, mentioning the nipple development of the labia and the hymen, while the secondary sexual characteristic is this is not primary, not required for the process of reproduction, exclusive to the individual sex for female and male. The next one is about male. In male secondary sexual characteristic, male usually develop the muscle, the hair pattern, determining the penile size, the shape, and the presence of the fibrous tissue, and the consistency of the testes and prostate examinations. Secondary sex characteristics also defined as changes that makes boy and girls look like mature like men and women. So the last one, let us emphasize in the girl secondary sexual developments. First and foremost is the breast development. The body fat and the body odor also include the body hair. While in male secondary reproductive changes, let us also define the voice deepens. Men should always develop the voice deepens when the ages 13 years old and above. Shoulders broaden also include the body odor and the body hair.
Now, we will talk about the secondary sexual characteristics. Now, what is secondary sexual characteristics? Well, it is the development of characteristics during puberty. Or sexual characteristics are those sexually dimorphic characteristics that are not directly involved in reproduction for men and women. For males, secondary characteristics include the facial and chest hair, increased body hair, pelvic build or lack of rounded hips, upper body muscular build, and the ability to generate muscle mass at a faster rate than females. For the female, this includes a lack of body hair, thicker hair on the head, a decreased ability to generate muscle mass at a rapid rate, decreased upper body strength, breast development, the ability to nurse children, a menstrual cycle, and an increase in body fat composition. Now, let's talk about the 5 essential components of a physical examination in a man complaining of impotence. The first one is secondary sexual characteristics such as muscle development, hair pattern, and presence of breast tissue. The second one is vascular examination, especially of the femoral and lower extremity pulses and the presence of roots. The third one is focused neurological examination. These include assessing the presence of peripheral neuropathy using the cremasteric reflex, anal sphincter tone, or the bulbocavernosus reflex. The fourth one is the examination of the genitalia to determine penile size, shape, presence of plaque or fibrous tissue, and consistency of testes or prostate exam. The last one is the thyroid relevant examination, including the size, the presence of nodularity, and abdominal reflexes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be talking about the sex and gender. So, what do we mean by sex and gender? Sex refers to biology. It is used as a classification generally as male or female according to the reproductive organs and functions that derive from the chromosomal complement, generally XX for female and XY for male. Gender refers to self-representation influenced by social, cultural, and personal experience. Gender refers to the socially constructed roles, behaviors, and identities of female, male, and gender diverse people. It affects how individuals behave and interact, how they see themselves and other people, and how power and resources are distributed in society. It is a common misconception that gender is a binary term, meaning only female and male. As a matter of fact, there is a spectrum of gender identities and expression that determine how people define and express their gender. These temporary definitions were a good place to start in understanding the importance of researching sex, gender, and how they interact, but they were always intended to change. As we learn more about ourselves, we must modify the words we use to be more conclusive, respectful, and accurate. For instance, even though most people are born with genitalia that are either male or female, that is not often the case due to unusual biological abnormalities, or a sex hormone's resistance can lead to characteristics of the opposing biological sex. Additionally, while though a person's internal sense of gender might be either female or male, some people identify as non-binary, meaning neither female or male. Other people may self-identify as the same gender to the one they were given at birth. This is known as cisgender, or a different gender from the one they were assigned at birth. We know this as transgender. These terms are separate from an individual's sexual orientation, which describes a person's emotional, romantic, and or physical attachments such as straight, lesbian, gay, asexual, bisexual, and more.